Artifacts are a key piece of equipment for empowering your heroes in AFK Arena, and they can all be obtained through different challenges in the peaks of time. There are currently 7 artifacts which can be equipped to any hero in the game, and then faction specific artifacts, 2 of which are currently in the game, and there are more being released. Each artifact will provide a stat boost to your hero, but also added effects which can be upgraded by starring up the artifacts, which you can get the materials to upgrade through things like the Stargazer room and AFK rewards. The first artifact I want to look at is Duras Blade. Now this is a fantastic artifact for your damage dealers over long fights. It comes with accuracy and attack as a stat bonus, and will be boosting your hero's attack and accuracy the longer the battle goes on. So this is ideally used in boss fights and fights that are going to last a longer period of time on your main attackers, because the longer the fight means the stronger they're going to get. Ideally, something like a Talene or a Saurus or any other main damage dealer is going to get really good effect out of this, especially in the early game before we get into faction specific artifacts. Another attacker artifact is going to be Jurris Eye. Now this one's going to be more useful in the shorter fights on other heroes that have high crit rates or have effects that activate with crit. Now it's going to give you an extra crit rate and physical resistance. Crit rate being the main thing you're looking at in the stat boost, but then the effects of it are really nice. Basically, when you deal a critical strike, it's going to increase your attack speed and also your critical strike damage. So really strong if you can crit, like I said, heroes with high crit rate or things that activate on crits. This is really going to benefit heroes like Gwyneth, because if she can get that extra attack speed, it means her arrows are going to shoot quicker. Iron, because he's going to crit and deal some massive ignored defense damage. And also Cecilia, as her skill 2 is going to refresh the cooldown when she does deal a critical strike. Jurris Conviction is the final attacker artifact. It gives crit and accuracy as a stat boost and increases the user's attack rating if there's no enemies nearby. And after getting to max stars, it's going to unleash a shockwave after 15 seconds that knocks back enemies. So this one's going to be strong on heroes that basically sit in the back row and don't get near any other enemies. However, the other 2 damage artifacts, being the Blade and the Eye, are normally more effective, but you do get niche situations where this one might stand out. Something that comes to mind is something like Kassos, because he can get that extra attack boost and he does very quick damage with his throwing axes, can get benefit out of this in short fights. Another one is Irons, the new dimensional hero. He has a massive burst, which he doesn't really attack before it, so he doesn't get the effects of Eye, and he's going to use his burst and basically kill everything at the start of the battle, so he doesn't really need to wait for the damage boost of Blade. So in those sort of situations, you can get some use out of Conviction. Next up, we have what I consider to be one of the strongest artifacts in the game, and that is Jurris Call. There is so many uses to this artifact. It grants haste and magic resistance as a stat boost. Now the haste is really nice. It can change the actual turn order of some characters depending on where the haste levels is at, so it can really change up the course of a battle, allow you to land some damage or crowd control before your enemy just by equipping this. On top of that, it is going to restore 10 energy points per second at base, and at max it's going to go up to 16 energy points per second, which is really strong, allowing your heroes to get to their ultimates sooner. And this can be fantastic generally on support heroes like Rowan, the twins, also Lucius to get his shield up faster, but also on any hero in the game that you really want to get their ultimate off. It's really splashable and can be used on anyone. However, the thing to remember with this one is that we can equip artifacts to multiple heroes. However, there is a diminishing effect, meaning that the effective energy you regenerate diminishes with each hero you equip this to. Next up, we have Jurris Chalice of Vitality. This is going to be a tank artifact that's going to grant HP and defense as a stat boost and restore health every second in combat up to a certain point. Now this is really nice for tanks to help them survive early burst against enemy teams and just that general healing. So pretty much any tank that you're having trouble surviving with is going to benefit from it. Something like Arthur, who's already really tanky, is going to get good use. Lucius can sometimes use it, and pretty much any other tank. So just a really good splashable artifact that's going to see a lot of use in the game. Jurras Grace is the first artifact that you do unlock in the game. It's going to grant dodge and HP, and basically whenever you use an ult, it's going to grant a shield to the hero using the ultimate, giving them some protection. Now, this one's going to be used a lot early on because it is the first artifact you get. For tanks, eventually they'll shift in towards using the Chalice more, so it does drop off in effectiveness. However, due to the fact that it does have dodge, it can be used nicely on some heroes, agility based heroes that have trouble with mitigation, because then they can get that extra dodge and HP and help themselves survive a little bit longer. Something like Antandra and Titus come into mind for niche situations, keeping in mind that they are attackers, so often they will prefer one of the attacker artifacts instead. Finally, we have Jurras Drape. Gives defense as a stat boost and increases the hero's health recovery rate. Now, this one is very similar to Jurras Grace in that you'll use it a lot early on tanks, but once you get Chalice, the Chalice starts to take over. Now, this can be used on something like, the best thing that comes to mind is going to be Almus the tree, because he has self-recovery that keeps on repeating and he does like to survive like that, so getting that extra healing on his already good recovery is really nice. But like I said, in general, most tanks are going to pivot into the Chalice once you do get it. Now moving on into the class specific artifacts, and first up we have the tank artifact, the Barricade. And as it is the tank artifact, it can only be equipped to tanks. It provides crit resistance and also HP. Now the way this artifact works is if one of your other allies is gonna die, the tank with this equipped to them will sacrifice 40% of their HP and give that HP to the ally as a shield, protecting them from death. Now, when we max this out, it can be used every 15 seconds, which is really nice. As for who you equip this to, basically any tank in your team. Now, you're not going to use this in every fight. There is situations where you won't actually need this because your other allies don't get into a situation where they're going to die. If you're trying to beat stages and one of your allies keeps dying, put this on one of your tanks. It will give them that one save and hopefully allow them to either survive and keep supporting your team or survive and deal some damage. So niche in the use, but very strong when used in the right situations. The final artifact that we do have is going to be the warrior class artifact, and that is the Chaos Bringer. Now this is going to provide accuracy and attack, and the first 2 times that a hero uses their ultimate ability, they will deal AoE damage and gain a permanent increase to haste and life leech. Now this artifact is basically going to be one that you want to put on any warrior in the game. There will be niche situations where you might still want to use the blade or the Jurris Eye. However, in general, this one is going to outperform. The haste that it provides, even in a long battle, is going to allow the warriors to deal more damage than the extra power that's going to be provided by Duras Blade. Really, really strong with this haste. The main unit that comes to mind for using this is going to be a Saurus. It's just going to allow him to deal mass amounts of damage in boss fights, but like I said, any other warrior, you can put this on and they're going to get some really good effect out of it. So that is going to be it for the artifacts we currently have in the game. Keep in mind, even if there is an artifact that you see as best for a certain hero, swapping them around in fights can really change things up, so don't be afraid to experiment. But I hope this helps you with your selection. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.